So, I remember the very first time I saw someone do it, and it grossed me out. Like you know how that feeling comes back to your throat, and it's like, you know, right? And I remember someone saying, yes, I love that. And I said, what is wrong with you, okay? So all of us were eating pizza, and people were asking for Parmesan, and others were asking for the chili pepper. And someone there had the audacity to ask for ranch. Yes, ranch. Now, let me tell you, this was back in the 80s. You guys weren't even thought of yet, okay? Back in the 80s, ranch was not existent. Well, it was, but it was, let me tell you, it was with salads, okay? No one asked for ranch with pizza. Now, I know that's hard for you to imagine, but there was a time where ranch and pizza didn't go together. And I remember thinking to myself, if the pizza gods heard you, they would strike. I know there's no pizza gods, but that's just not right. You're just not supposed to ask for ranch. Ranch goes with salads, and yes, there's vegetables on your pizza, but you don't combine the two. And I thought, that is so gross. How could you ever put ranch next to your pizza? But that's when I tried it. And my eyes were open. This is amazing. You know, a whole pile, and I'm like dunking it, and I'm like, this is beautiful. This is so amazing. And I'm scarfing down the ranch and the pizza, and I'm thinking to myself, how could it be that this had never crossed my mind? How could it be that now for the very first time I'm trying something? And I learned something that day, okay? That our prejudice sometimes precedes. Our prejudice sometimes precedes our experience. Because let's be honest, okay? There are certain things that we do, or perhaps that we don't do, that we just assume you're not supposed to do. For me, it was pizza and ranch, okay? I got to confess. But I don't know if it's a California thing. Has anyone heard of pizza and ice cream? Pizza and ice cream? Has anyone tried pizza and ice cream? Oh, man, you guys are bad. You guys need Jesus, okay? You're not supposed to mix those two. That's just no, okay? Pobrecito. But here's the thing, okay? You're not supposed to do that. But why is it that we think or we assume that is not supposed to go together? Okay? And let me be honest, okay? There's a lot of things that we're prejudiced against. Now, it could be a person. It could be an experience. Maybe you're against golf. You know, golf is not a sport, okay? Maybe, you know, tennis is your thing, okay? Maybe being a Dallas Cowboy is something that you'll never, ever, like me, ever do, okay? Oakland Raiders, okay? Oakland Raiders. So here's the thing, okay? What is it? What is it that proceeds or your prejudice precedes you? Well, we said, okay, maybe it's math. Maybe it's being involved in church, okay? Yes, you're in high school and you want to be with your friends, okay? Maybe you want to, just hang out, not do much. And people say, no, you don't have to go to the upper room. Just hang out with us. Just stay here. Where are you going? Why do you have to leave? Okay? Just stay. Whatever it is, maybe sometimes we just need to try it. Now, be careful with that, okay? I'm not saying that you go out there and find the nearest, druggie and ask them for something. No. That's not what I'm asking. I'm just saying things that are good for you, good for your health, that will get you closer to God. Those are the things that sometimes we have prejudice towards. Maybe it's your spirituality. Maybe you're afraid because, hey, you don't want to be like those crazy guys or crazy girls that don't do anything and they live in their room and they just read the Bible in spirit of prophecy. That's fine, okay? But what is it? For me, it was ranch, okay? So for the last couple of weeks, we've been talking about the book of Acts. And first week, Marcel talked to us about service and change. And he said that for us to do something, something has to change. Something inside of us has to reprogram. We have to rethink. And for you, maybe it's doing things out of your comfort zone. Maybe it's leaving your friends and your family to do something that you've never thought you would possibly do. maybe a mission trip, maybe the water ministry, okay? Last week, Pastor Pennick shared with us that our character, now you would think, well, what does character have to do with service? What I realized in the book of Acts is that the whole church in itself was growing, and part of the growing process was the heart. You see, sometimes we can do things half-heartedly, right? We can participate, we can share, we can sing, right? And it's just not there. What does our character look like? What are we when no one is watching? What do we do in our rooms and perhaps in our phones or in our cars? That's what we want you to know. Because if you want to be of service, if you want to be used by God, He's not wanting just your hands and your feet. He wants your heart as well. So today, the third thing that we're going to talk about, and we'll find in the book of Acts, is this. Because when you look at the book of Acts, you start to see there's a lot of things going on. But the one thing that comes up and over and every time is repeated is this one phrase, okay? And this is the one phrase that I want you to take with you. If someone asks you today at lunch, what was the sermon about? It's basically this. Say it with me. Doing more than the what? Now say it again. Doing. All right, yes. Doing more than the normal. Because normal is not working, right? Now, let's be honest. Normal is in, right? Everybody's wanting to be normal. No one wants to be weird. But here's what, well, some of you guys just can't help it. But that's okay. That's okay. We still love you, okay? The upper room is your place. But here's the thing. Normal is in. Weird is uncool, right? Weird, you don't want to be weird. You don't want to be that guy. You don't want to be that girl. But let me ask you this. When you're normal, when you do what everyone else does it make you better? Everybody watches Netflix. Everybody watches a certain show. Everybody eats that certain restaurant. Everybody wears those certain shoes. Does that make you better? No. It just makes you like everyone else, right? And when you read the book of Acts, you start to see page after page, story after story, people going above the normal, doing more than the normal. And today's story, when we talk about Peter and Cornelius, we see him doing more than the normal, okay? Because the normal is not working. For my boys that were with me last year, you guys probably remember this, right? The boys that were with me in our small group. You guys remember the title of our book? Weird. Remember that, David? Okay? And the author talked about, okay, being different. And listen to what Jesus says in Matthew chapter 7, okay? Matthew chapter 7, we're going to read a quote after that from Craig Rochelle. He says, "Enter by the narrow gate. For wide is the gate and broad is the way that leads to destruction. And there are many who go in it, because narrow is the gate and difficult the way which leads to life, and there are few who find it." Here Jesus is contrasting. He's showing a contrast, right? The narrow and the what? And the what? The broad. It seems the narrow is something that is hard pressed. People find it difficult. Not that it's hard, it's just not popular. Following Jesus is not hard, it's just not popular, okay? Here's what you have to understand. Jesus wants you to follow which road? The narrow or the broad? The narrow. And it's not hard. It's not like, oh, this Bible, it's just so thick. Why can't they make it in color? And why aren't there pictures in my Bible? Okay, I get that. Okay? Well, there are pictures in the back. It's called the map. But here's what you have to understand. It's not difficult. It's just not popular. And you see what we find time and time again is everyone is traveling on the broad road. Everyone is traveling on the wide road. You see, there's arm's length. You're at arm's length apart when you're on the wide road. On the broad road, you can run and you won't hit anybody. Why? Because everyone else is doing it. But what happens when you follow the broad? Well, this is what it says. Craig Rochelle says in his book, Weird, he says, the majority of people and crowd is traveling the wrong path, the ones that lead to destruction. They're the normal ones, intent on looking like the rest, spending money like the rest, living like the rest, keeping up with the rest. But their road leads to what? Say it with me. A dead end. Yes, you want to be like everyone else. Great. Go for it. But what is the end of that? Well, I just want to fit in. It's my freshman year. I don't want to stand out. Think about it. Jesus invites you, not your friends, not your class. He invites you. You be the difference. Yes, it's normal. But Jesus wants you not to just be normal. But maybe he's inviting you to just be a little weird. You like that, huh? He goes on, he says, only a few people, the weird ones, unafraid to exit the normal highway, find the right road. Not many, but a small and brave group of travelers willing to separate from the crowd and embark on a different kind of journey down the less obvious path. What is everyone else doing? Here's what I want you to know. Normal is comfortable. We do normal every weekend, right? You come here and you sit in these nice, cold chairs, okay? I wish they were, had little couches and stuff. We need more couches, I know. And you have a breakfast, and sometimes like today, it's a good breakfast, okay? Sometimes it's just cereal. But here's the thing. This is normal. What you're doing is normal. Listening, hearing, going back to your homes, coming back next weekend, hearing, listening, going back to your home. That is a normal routine. And normal is comfortable. But what we realize in the book of Acts is there's no more just a normal day. Every day is breaking out of the norm. Those of you who are going to high school will start to see things and hear things that you probably didn't think that you would hear or perhaps see. And it is so important for you to understand this, that you need to not be normal, you need to be different. You need to come close. You need to draw close to God. You need to be closer to God because why? When you're closer to God, God starts to form things in you and starts to change things around you that you start to stand out and you start making a difference. Does that make sense? We want you to go beyond the norm. We want you to make a difference. And what we see in Peter, what we see with Peter is that God shakes him up. So let's go back to the text, okay? Let's go back to the text. So if you have your Bibles or on your phones, because we don't have it up here, okay? Come with me to Acts chapter 10, okay? Acts chapter 10. And you probably colored this once when you were a kid, right? You remember this part of the story? Peter is having a vision, and this sheet comes down. Remember that? Okay. And what kind of animals were in the sheet? Remember that? Pigs, camels, vultures, eagles, right? All the kind of stuff that you're not supposed to what? Eat. Okay. And Jesus talks to him and says, Peter, I want you to go and kill these animals. Okay? I want you to go and eat these animals. And what does Peter say? I know. Okay? No, I don't eat that kind of stuff. Me vegetarian, okay? Me no eat that kind of stuff. Here's the thing. Many people take this story to say, okay, now we can have bacon and we can have lobsters and we can have all kinds of food. That's not what it's talking about. Okay, you'll see it in the book and you'll see it in the chapter. What Peter was talking about, or what God was talking about, were people. We're people. You see, here's what God is trying to teach Peter. It's time to do things differently. It's time for things to be different. So there's a couple of things that I want you to learn today. Ready? The first thing, okay? Doing more than the normal because the normal is not working. But the first thing that I want us to do is to know this. Salvation, say it with me, is not just personal, but global. What we do here in the upper room is great. And if you didn't know this, if you go to your Android or your iPhone, okay, we have an app. And on the app, you have all the messages. So if you like today's message, okay, wait next week. During the week, we'll have this message up. If you want to hear either Marcel's or Pastor Penix, you can go to our app and you can find all our messages starting from February, okay? You can find them on our app. Those are great tools and resources. But let me just tell you, it's not enough. God wants you to know that it's not enough that you're getting closer to God. He wants to make a difference in other people's lives as well. Because what we're doing here is we're a catalyst. We're pushing you out into the world where you are going to change wherever God leads you. But you have to understand, salvation is not just personal. Because here's what the Jews thought. I will only preach to the Jews, okay? I will only minister to those who look like me, who talk like me, who go to the same school like me. I will only associate with people who have the same skin color as me. And Jesus said, no. Not anymore. We take you beyond the norm. And it's interesting that when we find in the book of Acts, I don't think Luke intended to do this. But when we find the story in Acts chapter 10, it seems that as Luke is writing this, he's probably thinking himself, God is setting things up. Why? Because in chapter 9, Paul is asked to serve God. And Saul of Tarsus was going around killing people. Remember that? And then God calls him, and Paul becomes the missionary to the Gentiles. In other words, guys, what you and I are receiving right now, are reaping the benefits of, it's because of Paul. It's because Paul went beyond the norm and said, I'm not just going to preach to the Jews, I'm going to the Gentiles. And he went to the places that no one wanted to go. And here's what we find interesting. I found this quote in Acts of the Apostles. It says, the time had come for an entirely new phase of work to be entered upon the church of Christ. That means no more just the Jews. You see, the door that many of the Jewish converts had closed against the Gentiles, that means us, we're not Jewish, was now to be said, thrown open. And the Gentiles who accepted the gospel were to be regarded as on an equality with the Jewish disciples. What does this mean? Jesus came to his own. Jesus ministered to his own and inspired 120 people. But he realized that the message needed to go far beyond. Guys, yes, it's nice to be in Keene. It's nice to have our friends here locally. But there are people in Cleburne. There are people here just down the streets in the trailer parks who do not know the God that you know, who do not know the blessings that you have. And here's what we have to understand. It's not just for our keeping. The upper room is nice, but it's not just for us. It's great that you come, but here's the catch. Who are you bringing with you? Because Peter thought, well, I just have to preach to my own. That's all I have to do. But Jesus says, no. He started knocking on his door. And he said, no, now you have to go beyond the norm. Have to go to those who do not know me. Because the second thing is this. Serving is both crucial, but also necessary. You see, Jesus told us that we are the salt of the earth. And what we've become is salt shakers. Does that make sense? We are salt shakers. What happens with the salt shaker? Where's all the salt? In one container. Okay? And we have it stored there. And when we do mission trips or when we go outside and we sort of shed a little bit of that salt. We give out a little bit of God's love. No, guys. Jesus said we need to be the salt of the world, not the salt shakers. We need to go beyond and serve and do. I know it's uncomfortable. I know I don't like going up to a person that I don't know and asking them or giving them something. But I realize, what has God done for me? And I could say, well, a lot. He died for me. He saved me. So what am I going to do for my friend? What am I going to do for my neighbor? You see, here's where the rubber meets the road. We just think that salvation is just for me. As long as I get saved, whew, that's all that matters, okay? But you see, what we need to know is that God wants you to share. But you might say, well, I don't like to go up and speak. You don't have to speak. Well, I don't like to sing. Well, you don't have to sing. But you have to go and tell people of God's love. Maybe it's through an act of kindness. Maybe it's through a free car wash. Maybe it's one of the activities for the UG youth. Please consider being a part of it. Maybe it's the Pathway to Health. We want you guys to be involved. We don't want the upper room to just be another youth group. We want to be known for doing of service. It's interesting that Martin Luther King Jr., we all have heard of him, okay, said this once about being a good Samaritan. Listen to what he says. On the one hand, we are called to play the good Samaritan on life's roadside. But that will only be an initial act. You see, one day we must come to see that the whole Jericho needs roads to be transformed so that men and women, young and old, will not be constantly beaten and robbed as they make their journey on life's highway. You see, true compassion, he says, is more than flinging a coin to a beggar. You guys remember the Good Samaritan, right? We remember the story how he gets beat up and he gets mugged and he's left for dead. And it seems that that's part of what we do. We are good Samaritans. We help when we're needed. But Martin Luther King Jr. said, no, let's go beyond just helping. Let's reconstruct the whole Jericho Road. Let's make it an effort that we don't have to let another person be a victim. Let me share with you a parable, okay? A parable that I found quite interesting. It's a parable of 3 youth groups. And they lived in a town where the town's roads, similar to Keene, were all messed up, right? You guys driven behind over here at the university, it's like, rah, 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 okay? Lots of potholes, really, really bad, okay? So imagine this whole little town was like that. Terrible roads, cracks everywhere, holes everywhere, people just constantly complaining about, why these roads aren't being fixed. So these 3 churches had youth groups, and they all wanted to do something, okay? So the first youth group said, you know what, we're gonna make a difference. We're gonna go do something. And so they go and they pour a thin layer of asphalt over the road, just thin, okay? And everybody was out there, everybody's cheering and saying, yeah, go for it. They're so proud, And, the mayor comes out and gives them a ribbon, and people are taking pictures and posting them on Instagram. And it's all fun, okay? They get in their minivans and they drive away. Yay! But a few weeks later, those roads are back to where they used to be. Potholes, cracks, people complaining. Well, another group saw the same thing. Another group said, you know what? We're going to do a little bit more. So we're going to survey people around the town. We're going to ask them for testimonies. We're going to make a difference. And this time we're not going to go with asphalt. We're actually going to pour concrete. So they poured concrete over the street, okay? This is a parable, okay? It's not true. So they pour concrete, and all the people are out there, once again, cheering on this new youth group, and everybody's, giving them high fives and giving them water and taking pictures, and they also get in their minivans and they drive away. Well, that lasts for a few months, but eventually people drive on them. The road, the weather erodes the concrete that once again, the road is back to what it used to be. Well, the third group says, you know what? We need to do things different. We need to go deeper, okay? We need to really make a difference. So they divided themselves into 2 groups. One group thought and worked just exclusively with the working. And they too went to the community. They too talked to the people. But instead of them doing the work, they asked people from the community to come out. All the contractors, all the people who have an idea. And they had these what do they call those? The jackhammers. They had the jackhammers, and they took out all the road, okay? They completely gutted the road. And they poured a new asphalt, brand new, like Cars 1, okay? And so it's brand new, and everybody's like, what? What's going on? That was one part of their job, okay? The other group went down to City Hall and demanded to talk to the mayor and the councilman. and said, what is going on that the money that you get from the government, you are not putting it towards our roads? What is it? And they started lobbying, they started asking people, taking petitions, and they eventually agreed with the mayor, and things happened, and it was changed. Let me ask you this. Of the three groups, which group do you want to be? What group do you want to be? There's a book that I'm reading right now. It's called Deep Justice, okay? And this is what they say. This is the crux of the book. Deep justice is righting the wrongs. CTA, we do lots of mission trips. I get it. We're going to be going to Bolivia this year, okay? Woohoo. But what we do in a week, okay? What happens to the other 360 days? Here's what you have to know. Deep justice is righting the wrongs. It's not just fixing the superficial. Superficial's nice. Doing mission trips are great. But there's so much we can do. There's so much we can do. And this is what I want. Deep justice is not afraid to ask why the world is broken and then take steps to fix it. Guys, here's what I don't want you to miss. I don't want us to just be another normal youth group. That we have games, that we have socials, that we eat, and we do nothing. We make no difference. I want us to really think, how can we go deeper? What is it about our community here in Keene that you as young people can fix? Maybe it's the roads. I think that parable refers to us as well. But there are people here in our community that see this church that is so big and so many nice cars, and they wonder, what about us? What about us? Why? Why invites us to truly listen to and get to know the voiceless in our world? We want to work with social workers. We want to do things with people in our community, foster homes, adoption agencies. We want to work with people who have been abused physically and sexually. We want to do more than just preach. You see, why requires a long time perspective, because poverty, powerlessness cannot be eliminated in weekend bursts of activism. And finally, why invites us to interact with social systems, because we cannot truly help individuals untie unless we change the systems that rob their dignity. Why forces us to face the truth about our own participation in the system and structures that rob the poor of opportunities. I love being here. I love working with y'all. I love being a part of what God is doing here in Keene, but I realize God is giving us so many blessings, and we keep it for ourselves. And the world dies and withers away. It's time, guys. It's really, really time for us to really make a difference. It's not about the numbers anymore. It's not about how much fun we have. It's about how much we can make and help others. Because here's the thing, and I end with this. Why is not the popular question? Why? Why do you want to do this? Why aren't you just content with just being the way it's used to be? Because I've seen too much carnage. I've heard too many stories. I've talked to too many parents who tell me, yes, my son, my daughter used to go to such and such school. Yes, my daughter, my son used to come here. Yes, my son and my daughter. But then you ask, well, where are they? Well, they don't come to church anymore. They're not home. And I'm not saying that it's going to happen to you. I hope it's not going to happen to you. But let me just tell you this. I worry about you. Not just you physically. I worry about you spiritually. I worry about you emotionally. You see, guys, we're living in these times where it's not enough to just be normal, to do the normal thing, to come and hang out and see our friends. We need to be more, because the normal is not popular. The normal, is popular. And being different is not. I want to end with this quote from Bishop Oscar Romero, the martyr leader of the Nicaraguan church. This is what he said. When I feed the poor, they call me a saint. When I ask why the poor are poor, they call me a communist. You see, deep justice means not only asking why, but being prepared to do something. I want to end with this. In Luke chapter 4, Jesus' very first sermon, it is recorded that he reads from the book of Isaiah. And he says these words, and these are the words that I want to etch into your heart. This is what the world needs. The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, he says, for he has anointed me to bring good news to the poor. He has sent me to proclaim that captives will be released, and that the blind will see, that the oppressed will be set free, and that the time of the Lord's favor has come. Upper room, what are we going to do? Please consider being a part of something. Whether it's the UG Purpose Week, whether it's Pathway to House, please consider being something more than just normal. Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, God, Lord, we need a stirring. We need a shaking. Like Peter, we need our conscience to be attacked. Not because we want to see ourselves suffering and that it's something like, that we enjoy pain. No, God, we realize that time is short. And what we see around us in our communities, we have the key to make a difference. We know Jesus Christ and the promise that he has for us. We know what it means to live under grace and not under harsh law. But God, sometimes we feel like we can't do anything. We can't go there. We can't talk to people because we just don't know what to say. Father, for this is what we need to do. We need to get closer to you, God. We need to read the book of Acts. We need to pray because it's not enough for us to just be saved. But God, you look to us and say, what about them? Father, please bless us today. We ask that your Holy Spirit be poured upon us once again. Bring us back this evening so that we may have a great time at Main Event, but also bring us back next week as we continue looking in the book of Acts. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.